Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we talk about our favorite video games and all things pop culture with an emphasis on our favorites. We're your hosts Jared, Mauro, and Chaz.
Hey, my name is Mauro. This is my voice. This is Mauro's voice that is attached to Mauro.
Hello, welcome. I am one of the great members of the Weeb Nation, and I hope you guys enjoy your time here.
And today's episode's on The Flash. The Flash is a DC Comics superhero created by Gardner Fox and Harry Lampert, debuting in Flash Comics #1 in 1940, with Jay Garrick as the original Speedster. The most famous version, Barry Allen, was introduced in 1956 by Robert Kanigher, John Broome, and Carmine Infantino, kickstarting the Silver Age of comics and the DC multiverse. Barry, a forensic scientist turned hero after a lightning accident, became the iconic Flash, later succeeded by Wally West and Bart Allen. Known for his super speed and time travel abilities, the Flash is a key figure in DC's multiverse, appearing in numerous adaptations across TV, film, and animation. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at Raz-Show-Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. And with all that being said, it's Razzle Dazzle time!
Fun fact.
Whoa.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Happy birthday, Chaz. Flash. Let's give like a 5-second entire history of the Flash right now.
5-second history. But
Yes.
Flash is the lightning bolt that struck himself. There you
Lovely. Okay. And why is he not the best version of himself?
go. That I genuinely cannot explain why his sidekicks are better than him and faster than him. Don't know.
Sidekicks,
If he's the
plural?
original OG, the first one to be, attached to the
Was
Speed Force, he should
was
be the best one.
Wasn't it Jay Garrick?
It depends on what universe you're talking about as well. Like, if you're talking about like in the order that the Flashes were made, yes, Jay Garrick would be the first one, but Jay Garrick is a different universe than Barry Allen.
Okay, I think that's a different conversation because I'm not like super familiar of how the history within DC works when it comes to like older superheroes, but whatever, it's fine. Let's talk about the Flash.
I said, if you, in a way, I could explain it to you. I don't know, like, so we have like the Batman. You guys always know, like, it's always Bruce Wayne, obviously.
Right, it's always been.
But my Bruce Wayne, New 52 Bruce Wayne, would be different from your Bruce Wayne because those are two different universes that don't correspond. You get me?
Yeah, to an extent, right? Because wasn't Rebirth made so that everything that happened in the New 52 sort of happened as well as everything that had happened before that in the old history, so that all of the histories are like connected and combined in a way that you just don't think about it too much, just know that everything happened.
And then that also confuses people because then there's like no actual true origin story. And then that's why I consider like DC's little downfall on them making too many universes.
But
Go ahead, Jared.
And we all have the Flash to blame, because it's all his fault.
That's what I was gonna ask. How come every time now that there's like a crisis event or whatever, Doomsday, New 52, Rebirth, it's one of the speedsters fucking around?
Because the speedsters are the only ones capable of jumping through universes like that too easily.
And
Like,
time travel.
There's other beings that can do it, but the other beings of higher intelligence. You get me? So they know how to not mess around. But since our speedsters are the only humans who are based, like, their actions are based off their emotions, it's easier for them to mess up the universe, so we can just point fingers at them all day long.
Well, their actions are directly tied to my emotions as well. I'm sorry to bring this up on your birthday episode, and this is 1000% just all natural flowing part of the conversation. When Wally West died
Ouch.
in Young Justice,
He was bringing us back.
I was obviously, very, very upset, very sad or whatever. And the way that I cope with this is, I think it was last year or the year prior to that, I started reading Rebirth. And in my brain, I'm like, this is just it, because it fits, right? Wally West is the center of attention. He's coming back and people are starting to remember him. But in my brain, I'm like, you know what? In a way, it's like he's coming back to life. And maybe this is the same Wally. It's not, two different universes, but I can thematically conjoin them together and be like, okay, this is the continuation of Wally's relationships with all of these people, Dick Grayson primarily.
I have come close to being okay with his death. Will I ever 100% be okay with it? Nah, I think they were dead wrong for that. I think
Absolutely.
we didn't have to kill him. I didn't. I think he could have just like evolved at that moment. Somehow ran as fast as Barry and Bartholomew,
Or maybe I don't know how
or-
you feel about this, but like, imagine if the actual slowest fucking Flash there, Barry, had died, and then Wally just took up the Flash mantle. Whoa!
that's what I was gonna say, because that's literally the way we know it. Is Barry dies, and then we have Wally who takes on the mantle of the Flash, and then we have Impulse who takes on the mantle as Kid Flash.
Yeah, it would have worked perfectly. Like they set it up. It looked for exactly that, and then I guess somebody just got the names wrong or something, and nobody noticed.
Yeah, and they only did half of it in the show. Impulse did become Kid Flash, but like
It's not the
Wally
same.
didn't become the Flash. Yeah.
Chaz, take us
Go ahead.
back through time and tell us about how you first got introduced to the Flash and like why are we doing this episode? You know, like why? I think I gotta preface this too. Like this is part 2 of us talking about the Flash. The first time we did it was probably like our second year of being the show. I think first or second year, and this was before you became a member of the show. But you did recommend us to do an episode on the show for you back in the day, right? So now we're doing a legit part 2 because yes, it's your birthday, it's your favorite superhero. I just want to get to like, why is it your favorite superhero?
You making me think about that literally just has me almost speechless, because I don't recall a moment when he wasn't my favorite.
It's a paradox. It was always there.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I can't tell you when he like became my favorite in my head. The furthest back memory I can give you is like my peak excitement for the Flash is when I was watching a show called The Arrow. I think you guys know who
Yes.
the main Arrow is, Oliver Queen, all that, right? So
The
you guys know about the CW
Arrowverse,
show.
yes.
Never heard of them.
Oh, okay. Mauro, I'm gonna kick you out the group chat.
No way,
Uh,
please. I don't have any other friends.
But I just remember sitting there and I was watching like the show, The Arrow, because I thought it was a cool show. And all I seen at the end of one of the episodes was just a lightning bolt just go across the screen. And then it all panned out to a field, and then all you seen was somebody running. I ran around my house so much. How can I explain it to you? As a kid, I was zooming after the trailer went off because it was just Barry catching the arrow that Oliver shot at him. It was just one of my. But like, I will send you guys the trailer that I saw. That was like my peak excitement for the Flash, and that's where I guess like I fully dove in. To me, it was no longer just a superhero who's a speedster. To me, at that point, I wanted to know everything I can find out about this superhero. That was like, I don't know, almost 10 years ago, if not longer.
Yeah, it was a while ago. The CW Arrowverse started a long time ago, and so I think for a lot of people our age, thanks to those shows, it's, you know, it has introduced us to the world of DC. It has for me, for sure. You know, I started watching Arrow when it was coming out on Netflix, and eventually watched The Flash, Supergirl, DC Legends of Tomorrow, and stuff like that. But like after a certain point, it and I think this is the general consensus of these shows, that like it just became, you know, tedious. I don't want to say redundant, but like tedious as in like every episode like the same thing happens, but with like a different villain. It's just like the same formula. It's formulaic for each episode for each of these shows. That like, you know, it's a lot. And I never really ended up got caught up with any of the shows. I remember watching up until the Crisis on Earth X or whatever, Infinite Earths events that they had. And I thought it was cool. I thought it was great. But then, you know, they started introducing more and more new heroes like Batwoman and Black Lightning and stuff. And I just like, oh, this is like way too much. But I will say Batwoman did have a live action version of Kevin Conroy's Batman, which was really cool. But that's besides the point. Yeah, I think for most people our age, we grew up watching these shows and then kind of got into these superheroes. So CW's The Flash was it for you. And I think we can all say that Grant Gustin is the best live action Flash.
Now we don't want to get in trouble now.
What are you talking about?
Get in trouble.
Yes. Yes. I know a lot of people don't like Ezra Miller. I personally,
I don't.
I don't know. It's not a good Barry or a good Flash. I knew my first time I knew I wasn't gonna like Ezra is when I saw him run.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
hate
what
how
is-
he runs.
I was like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
This is, no, you're a speedster. You have some type of form. Like, it don't got to be perfect, but what is? Why are you flailing in the wind like
Yeah, I
this?
hate how his arms are moving.
Yeah,
like he's just
yeah.
flicking. You know, she's like, "What are you doing, dude? Just
Mm.
run. Stop being weird."
Like,
That should be the thing he excels at, and it looks like he's never done it in his life.
Yeah, being a scientist, you look up a form, like like a proper form to run to make you run faster, but I digress.
Yeah.
To explain the show part, I get how you felt when it came to like the crossovers like that. You was just introduced to a bunch of random characters. To me, I was not just introduced to all these characters, because when you're watching these shows, they expect like they're pleasing the group of people who are watching all their shows all at once.
Yeah.
You're watching
And I was
Arrow,
at the
Black
time.
Lightning, Supergirl. Yeah, so you're not being introduced randomly to these characters.
No.
It just all makes sense. And if you're watching all the shows as they're coming out together, then it makes sense, because you see how one ended up in your other universes. And I get most people don't want to watch that many shows at once, because that's just a lot of story to keep up with, a lot of plot. Especially when they're around the same universe, you can start intertwining stories. When like some of the people show up on some of the other shows, and then you're just like confused when they have different names in a different world.
Yeah.
I think the Arrowverse both benefited and was severely hurt from the era of like oversaturation of shared universes.
Yes.
Because imagine you're only like vaguely familiar with DC, and you see this like really cool show, right? And it's either The Flash or DC Legends of Tomorrow or whatever. But now you're already most likely reading some things, watching some shows of your own, playing some video games, or devoting your free time to other forms of media. And now you found this really cool show, but you can just pick up this one show. However, it really does incentivize you to pick up this show and then every other show that's attached to it. And a lot of people might just get fatigued. Some people might pick it up and do like, okay, yeah, like I'll watch this season of this show, and then it leads into this season of this other show, and then now both shows have like 2 or 3 seasons. But then there's this third show that it will eventually lead up to the premiere, the last episode of this other season, and then just kind of gets all jumbled up. I feel like shared TV universes work worse than shared movie universes.
You're absolutely not wrong on that. Luckily, you can watch these shows without watching the crossover episodes. It doesn't.
You can,
you
but like
until...
there's a certain point where we do the Flashpoint paradox in the Flash, and that has ramifications on the Arrow show, because those are in the same universe where like Digger's kid is a different gender or whatever, and like this person is different, and then Digger's like actually the Sentinel or whatever the hell he was. Like you're right to an extent up until Flashpoint Paradox, and then you're like, if you're only watching Arrow because you're a fan of Green Arrow, and then you get to that point, you're like, what? Why is what? How's this different? Like I don't. What's going on?
Diggle get a daughter? I could have sworn Diggle had a son.
He had a son, then got a daughter. That's what it was. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Hey, it's a show for the fans, let's say.
Yep, and then for the Flash, Cisco had a brother, and then when Barry changed things, Cisco's brother died in an accident.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And apparently in this world, Barry refused to save his brother. So that made things worse for Barry, because Barry just entered this universe. After he messed everything up, he thought he fixed it, which I don't know. You guys saw some of the Flash, right?
I've watched like quite a few seasons, like maybe the first 4 seasons. Okay. I don't remember.
So you guys know how Jay Garrick shows up in the show?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. So, do you remember when Barry was like, he first broke the timeline and Jay Garrick came to like help him, and Jay Garrick's like, you up, but you can kind of fix it, but you'll never fix it again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it was like, I love this episode or this scene, because it was like the perfect way to describe how fragile how the timeline in the multiverse is. And he takes like a little coffee cup, and he like, if you break this coffee cup, you can put it back together, you can glue it and everything, but it'll never be the same as it originally was.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was just a great explanation. And so when Barry broke the universe and he tried fixing it before he had to talk with Jay Garrick, he has to come into the universe where Iris and her father doesn't get along at all. Cisco Ramon hates him. Caitlin's going through something. I can't remember what Caitlin was going through right now. Everybody had like issues were different than what he remembered. So I love that they did that in the show, but they also put it into some of the other shows. And if you weren't watching The Flash and the Flashpoint Paradox and everything, yeah, like Jared said, your life just got switched in a random episode and you don't know why.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing. But like, we also got to think of like at the time, this was all coming out every week
together.
Like there were back-to-back
That is
episodes
true.
of these shows on the CW weekly. And yeah, that's cool. That's like, it's like for a time, I think the sweet spot or the golden era of this CW DC Arrowverse is like the first 3 seasons of all these shows that were going on at the same time. But like after that, I think, you know, it's just they kept trying to like just crank out more things for the sake of content and not really focusing on like, why are we doing this? Like, what's the actual benefit of creating the story? What is the story here? You know, like what are we actually trying to do? And then like, especially with the Flash, it gets very convoluted because like now like almost everybody's a speedster. Like now Iris has powers or something, you know, like there's like some new, like their kid from the future comes back, but it's not Impulse or something. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot. Right, and it's just it's a weird thing, but I think we see better representations of the Flash in other forms of media. Of course, the comics are the comics; those are the baseline. But my favorite version of the Flash, period, is from the Justice League animated series, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, where it's not Barry Allen, it's Wally West the entire time. No mention of a Barry Allen. Wally West here is the Flash. And I think he's like the best iteration of the Flash in general. Are you familiar?
He absolutely is to me. Yes,
Yeah?
he is absolutely the best variation of the Flash to me. And back to what Mauro said earlier about the Young Justice show, how he really loved Wally. Wally's energy in the Young Justice show is the same as the one in the Justice League Unlimited animated series. And I was like, I love that energy that Barry has, or Wally has, of like being a speedster, always quick on his feet and also quick with the pickup lines.
Yeah.
That was my favorite thing. He runs around the Watchtower just hitting on a Hawkgirl, a Wonder Woman, and whatever other woman he can find. He was the comic relief of the show.
Very much. He's the heart of the team.
I really have an issue with how, even though these 2 separate iterations of Wally West are perfect and really encapsulate the type of character that he is and put it on the screen, and I'm grateful for both of them because we get the Kid Flash version of him and we get the Flash version of him. We never get the entire thing. In Young Justice, we only get the kid version of him up until his death, and then in the Young Justice show, in the Justice League, was it Unlimited animated show? That whole universe. Yeah, that entire part, we only ever know him as the Flash. We don't get to see his origin story, his full growth from one to the other. Yeah. And it's not a terrible thing. I just find it weird that it happened 2 times, you know?
Yeah, 2 times, 2 separate shows. No, you're right. I don't
2 separate shows. Like with how many iterations of these characters and these universes there have been, I feel like I definitely believe Young Justice should have been the part where it happened, but whatever, it didn't, and there's no use crying over spilt speedsters. I just feel like, like we need more Wally. Which I wanted to ask this earlier, but I think it already sort of got answered. But Chaz, you say like the Flash being your favorite superhero. You're talking about the mantle, the Flash, right? Or do you specifically mean Wally West in general?
No, I mean the mantle.
The mantle of the Flash. Okay.
Yep. Because I really, don't get me wrong, I really love Wally. But I want to know, and I had to like go digging in comics for this. I want to know more about Bartholomew. When I say Bartholomew, I don't mean Barry. I mean his grandson, Impulse.
Bart Allen, yeah.
Yeah, I want to get to know more about him because when he shows up in like the Young Justice show and everything, he seems pretty cool to me. And I wanted to know more about his character and like the world where he came from, where he left his twin sister there for whatever reason. And apparently his twin sister is also a speedster, but why didn't she come along? I don't know. I want to know more about him, his sister, the world they came from, but I haven't gone digging for that yet.
I don't know how close the comics follow that particular thing. I've never fully read an entire Teen Titans or Young Justice or whatever comic where the iteration of Bart Allen shines, but I know he's very prominent in them, or at least was.
I'm pretty sure
back a couple years ago.
I'm pretty sure Impulse has his own comic line, at least like one. I'm pretty as someone who's worked at a comic store, I know I've seen like solo Impulse issues before.
Oh, maybe those are the ones. But what I've seen in like team comic books, he's very, very young and a lot more childish than he was in Young Justice. which kind of sucks because we've talked about this before, so I'm not going to beat on this too hard, but Young Justice has a lot of really interesting characters that don't all know how to share the spotlight. So some people, sometimes a character like Impulse will show up that seems really interesting and like, wow, I want to get to know more about this character, but then they don't really get the chance to be fleshed out. And when I dive into the comic version of these characters, they have slight variations that kind of don't really make them the same character, you know? But I've never read a solo Impulse comic, so maybe, I don't know, Chaz, maybe you could start there and let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do plan on it. I don't have space to buy comic books. That's why
That's
I don't
real.
like that. That's why.
That's real.
Like I would say, if I had the space, oh yeah, the same way you seen me at Barnes and Noble when I went with you guys looking for the solo leveling series,
Yeah.
I would be doing that for every superhero I like.
I don't know a lot about different storylines where the Flash isn't just involved in like some higher like multi-universal time travel thing. Like that's of course that's one of like his main shticks, right? But I feel like there's not a lot of like I don't want to say grounded stories with the Flash, but like more intimate. That doesn't have to do with like some larger than life multiversal scale.
Oh, you mean like I just got like a friendly neighborhood Flash, basically? Is that what you're trying to say?
Kind of, yeah. Like at least something that's compelling, you know? Like I don't know. It's weird to say because
that one.
you know, we have those type of moments with Superman. We have those type of moments with Wonder Woman. Of course, we have them with Batman. But with the Flash, I feel like he's seen or is presented mainly as like as a tool to get these higher multiversal time travel stories and villains and arcs to happen. Everybody can talk about a death in the family for Batman or the death of Superman, you know, and usually the main key storyline we talk about with the Flash is Flashpoint, the Flashpoint paradox, which is interesting for sure. For the first time, it's interesting to explore the time travel parts of the Flash because he's Speedster, Speed Force, whatever. That's cool and all, but what these other stories do for the other Justice League members kind of humanize our heroes. But with the Flash, I don't see that often. But then again, I don't follow the Flash a lot, so I don't know if you can add on to that, Chaz.
I can. This will be like, it won't be a strong argument against what you're saying, but it'll be a good argument. You said the intimacy of the Flash, right? The more human side of him. The Flashpoint is his human side. It is him. So, in multiple of the Flashpoints, either the animated series, the animated movie, or the CW show, or even the live action movie that came out itself, the Flashpoint is created because Barry was feeling depressed that he didn't have his mother or his father.
I know that, but like that's my point, right? Like, does every important story to this character does time travel need to be involved? Does changing the entire multiverse need to be involved every single time?
I get where Jared is
I'm
coming
probably
from.
like butchering like my point here, but like, you know.
Well, no, you're doing well. So my argument against that is to show the scale of his power. Like, so most people just see him, he's just fast. What do you do with that? He's not super strong. He heals quickly. Congratulations. He's a scientist. Congratulations. But like, there has to be like a greater scale to his power, and that's what it'd be when he taps into his emotions and he messes up. His mess up doesn't just phase him. It doesn't just phase his town. It doesn't phase the city. It phases the universe, and then he has to fix his mess up. But the only way to fix his mess up, I don't know how to describe this to you. Think of the person right now you love the most. They died on you yesterday and everything. You're going through it, and you have the ability to save them, and you did that. But now the world is falling apart. Will you kill them to save the world? Can you look at them dead in your eyes and kill them to make sure the world can live to see another day?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like his thing. He has to sacrifice his family and everything he wanted to grow up with so the world can just continue living, or it can just all end. All because he saved one person.
Chaz makes a couple of very compelling points. I get what Jared is saying about that. Like, yes, maybe there are small intimate moments that humanize the Flash, but do they always have to be tied to this like giant universe mixing sort of situation? And I think that's like the way Chaz described it made me view it in a different light. Every time he does try to have like a small intimate situation, it inadvertently creates some sort of like cosmic level event, which kind of does suck for him in my mind though, because again, I don't read just Flash issues, but I imagine that like every single issue that the Flash comes out, that isn't tied to some event or crossover or whatever, is most likely just like a 3 or 5 issue arc of the Flash just doing shit in where does he live? Star City?
Central.
Yes.
Central City, yeah. Star City's what? Arrow?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So like in Central City, just him like doing stuff. Like that's what I imagine the Flash does. He like solves 17 crimes and then it's still 9 a.m. So he's like, okay, I guess I gotta go to work or something. It's probably not super interesting, but I'm sure that, you know, like they gotta run around with that. No pun intended. Literally no pun intended.
Right.
I guess like like Jared, I do understand what you're trying to say. He does have like very small problems that aren't catastrophic. Like he'll go through like moments of life when he realizes he cannot save everyone because he cannot be in all places at the same time.
Right, but like, I think we're starting to get there, and this is going back to Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, where it has, you know, our favorite version of the Flash. Do we see him deal with like some big cosmic multiversal stuff? Yes. At the very like part or towards the end of the series, you know, there's that whole Amazo Lex Luthor thing going on, and Wally
Brainiac
and Luthor
yep.
thing, and Wally sacrifices himself to save the day or whatever, which is awesome, right? Which is cool, which is like very compelling.
One of my favorite things.
One of the favorite parts of the show, yes. But there are also moments within this show where we see the caring nature of the Flash towards his villains, like the Trickster, who was reprised by Mark Hamill, where, you know, they're sitting in the bar and the Flash just comes in and he's just like, hey man, how's it going? Not good. Not having a good day. And he's like, well, you know what? I know you've been having it rough. If you promise me to stop doing like whatever bad thing you're doing, cool. Just make sure you finish your drink, go to the police station. They'll take care of you. Because this character like has, you know, like some kind of mental issue. I don't remember exactly or whatever, but like I remember loving that scene because it shows the Flash connecting with this villain who is misunderstood. And, you know, as we all know, the Flash is the heart of the Justice League. And we actually get to see that in practice within this episode where like he is using his heart, not his speed, to get to the villain and ultimately handle the situation. And there are other aspects of this too, or not just the heart thing, but like other parts of the Flash where like, yeah, he's a forensic scientist. And I think that's something that we all easily forget. I don't expect him to be a detective or anything, but like we don't see a lot of that play into his work. We don't see him like trying to solve these types of, or trying to solve any kind of cases, trying to get there in time, you know, or whatever. Can he? Yeah, sure. But depending on the villain, I don't know. I'm just trying to make something up here of like, you know, can something happen? Yes, but I do understand like it will be hard because of how many or how powerful this character can be. Trying to scale that down may not always sell.
You know, I actually often get that feeling when I'm thinking or when I'm reading or, you know, participating, consuming some sort of media related to Batman in relation to the rest of the league.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's the complete opposite, right? Like the Flash is easily faster than Superman and in most iterations. And that in a lot of ways can translate to stronger if we're talking about who can beat who, right?
Yeah.
And then to put him above Superman in some cases and then compare him to Batman, who is literally just below all of them functionally. I also feel that like disconnect between how do you scale somebody, but in the opposite direction. For you, it's how do you scale the Flash down? For me, it's how do you scale Batman up? Because I'll be watching him in a show or a movie or something with the rest of the leaguers, and he's there and he's present. But I'm like, this is the same dude who's going to go back to Gotham tonight and get beat up within an inch of his life, life. You know, so like, you sometimes you just have to like find a sort of disconnect yourself because like if I'm reading this Batman issue where he's like being demolished by Mr. Freeze, I can't be there in the back of my mind being like, why don't he just call Superman? Why doesn't he just call the Flash? He doesn't even need to reach out that high. Call Spoiler, Orphan, one of the Robins. He's got like 7 of those things just anywhere around Gotham, right? So sometimes you just kind of have to like pretend like that Barry or Wally didn't just go through their 50th multiversial event this year and just kind of run with it. That time the pun was intended.
Yeah, but I think
oh my god, you just made me think about something.
But I think that episode in Justice League Unlimited is like season 3, episode 5 or something. I just pulled it up real quickly, and it's called Flash and Substance, that like really shows like why we care about the Flash, or one of the greatest aspects of the Flash is his heart, because he is also the heart of the Justice League, of the team, but like he also has this ability to level with his villains, and like he cares, you know, like he really cares and doesn't want people to, you know, do the wrong thing, so he tries his best. I mean, like even in like one of the Christmas specials, we actively see him donate toys and stuff to orphans or something like that, and like he pretends to be Santa Claus for these people, you know, like he takes the time out of his day to do all these nice things. It's just a really nice thing to see. I don't know.
I do like that he does have a heart. Like
he can slow down.
He can slow down. That's true. That's true. He could be another brooding motherfucker, but he's not. Actually, Chaz, when you think about Barry Allen and Wally West, like how would you contrast them, compare them, I guess? Because you're more familiar with both of these characters than I am.
I say the way I separate them, Barry is depressing. And like you can see that more. Obviously, as we know what Barry goes through as the Flash compared to what Wally goes through as the Flash. Barry has had a lot more rough life than Wally has, so Wally's able to be as chipper as he is because he hasn't like fully gone through what Barry go through, because Barry also is the one who taught Wally, so Wally didn't have to go through a lot of trial and error. He had a lot of mentoring along the way up, so that's the way I see them different. Barry's just always depressing, but I do give it to Barry because he still, even as depressing as he is, he still managed to put a smile on his face. He's still like, even as like, all to me, Barry and Wally were both the heart of the Justice League. More Wally than Barry, obviously.
Okay.
So like sometimes when I see like the show of like Barry like being happy, it's just kind of like, it terrifies me how he can smile after everything he's seen and done. And I don't mean done in like in a murderous way. I mean like done as in like, well, he had to sacrifice so he can see this earth turn another, like around the sun another year. What he's done, and he'll be this also hurts me. The Speedsters are always alone when they mess up the universe. They never go back to who they originally were with.
Hold on, what do you mean?
If you draw a line, right? Okay. That is the timeline you're in.
Here's the Back to the Future explanation, everybody.
No.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Exactly.
Damn it. I hate that type of time travel.
So you draw your straight line, and so you got point A, point B. So, or point 1, point 2, right?
Okay.
So you're gonna go from point 2 to point 1.5 because that's what the Speedster changed.
Okay.
And then you're gonna make a branching timeline because obviously it's no longer the same, right?
Right.
He would never be able to return to the original 2. So
right. Whatever past he returns to is what, like the past of the future he created?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you think about it this way, that timeline would never have a Speedster again.
Oh, because that timeline keeps going. Oh wait, okay, no, that is tragic. You're telling me that there's a so the first time that the Flashpoint ever happened, right?
Yes.
Barry married at this time?
No.
Did he have like a girlfriend at least?
Just got one.
Okay. He had just gotten one.
Just got one that same day.
He just got one that same day. Mm-hmm. That particular girl, after the Flashpoint, her life kept going. She never saw him again? Never saw him again. Wow. So the current timeline in Rebirth is not like the previous New 52 timeline. It's just like another other timeline. Yep. It keeps branching. It just keeps branching. You would never go back to the original one. But it's the original Speedster always.
Yeah, that's what I said. These speedsters are always alone. So even when he meets like his daughter, and his daughter goes around messing with time, and his universe that we left behind, he never sees her again, and she is now forever alone because she's never really with the same group again.
Tragic. Okay, no, that added a level of Lord.
So like, yeah, you still like, we're still with each other. Like, so like, if I go mess up the timeline, like right before I joined college, and I go kick a can at Jared's car while he was driving and it upset him and he crashed, and congratulations, there's no Razzle Dazzle Show.
No.
I can still know, I can go back to my present time. No Razzle Dazzle Show. I still know Jared, but it's not the same Jared. Not Jared that does Razzle Dazzle. This Jared might be a weightlifter because now he wanted to kill me for like half his life.
Kick the can at me, bro.
If that's all it took for me to be a weightlifter, okay.
I think what Jared is saying is he needs some motivation, Chaz. Are there any cans around?
No. But I thought about that when you guys were talking. I was like, wow, the speedsters are never with who they're really with the entire time.
Yeah.
And then depending on how far into like the past they went and back to the future. So for example, the Flashpoint, he goes back to like 15, 20 years ago to go save his mom, and then goes back to his time. That's 20 years of unknown information he does not know, that he has to catch up on everybody and the world itself. Everybody's not the same he knew. So like, Jared goes back 20 years, come back. That's not the Coke he knows.
Yeah.
This Coke is fat. This Coke only wants wet food. This Coke isn't trained to have dry food, and it doesn't like playing with toys. So Jared comes home, and his house just has no toys in it. He's confused, and he just sees a fat cat just dragging his back legs around.
What about situations like in Rebirth where some Wally West came back and he reunited with some Barry Allen, and there's this really touching scene where Barry's looking at him and he's like, oh my god, of course, like I can't believe I forgot about you. Who were either of them then to each other? Like, obviously he's like, yes, you are Wally, like I recognize you, but was that the same Wally that he had seen the last time he f***ed with Earth and created the whole Rebirth situation, or was that not, or were they just two different ones?
Two different ones.
So what happened to the original Wally that not a Wally, what happened to the original Barry that created the Flashpoint? Where is he?
All right, so the story of, we're going to start with the very beginning story of Barry, right?
Okay.
All right, he's a forensic scientist. He's in his lab one night just working late, and he gets struck by lightning, right? He goes through his life. He does the Flashpoint and everything. And then there's to a point where, like, the only way to save the world from this catastrophe that is just, like, beyond everybody in the Justice League is he has to run on this cosmic treadmill, provided energy, in order like to stop something, right? I cannot remember the exact details right now, so forgive me. But he runs so fast and so much on this cosmic treadmill that he does phase out, like he did in the versus Brainiac Lex Luthor. Do you remember that when he was just running so much that of course he just phased out? But for that show, he phased into the Speed Force, so they was able to pull him out. And this one, he phased into the Speed Force into a manner where he became the lightning bolt, and he just went back in time and just chose himself. So for Barry, he's in an infinite loop, basically. So it's like, it's the chicken and the egg.
Right.
First?
So that means that the Wally West that Barry, who turned into lightning, left behind, that same Wally is the one that showed up in Rebirth, but the Barry that he reunited with was not the same Barry that he left, because that Barry that he left is lightning.
Yeah.
I hate it here, dude.
What do you mean? We love time travel.
It is an infinite. No. First and foremost, that is my least favorite, like, form of time travel. Like my least favorite explanation. I love Back to the Future. I hate that sort of time travel. It makes no sense. Branching timelines like Dragon Ball Z and Endgame, yeah, that one. Those are better. However, DC plays it fast and loose with those. the reason I said I hate it here is because it's just an infinite tragic cycle.
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Tragicity on infinite wallies and infinite berries. Okay.
Yeah, so it literally, I think the reason for them doing that is literally just so they can do anything and nobody can tell them no.
Yeah. No, yeah, of course. It's a lot of
like if they decide to make Batman, the Batman who laughs, who's gonna tell them no?
Yeah, and I have to appreciate DC for, like, even while they always do this, every character still has a set history. Like, no matter what, right? Right now, like, Batman will always have had become Batman, lost second Robin, Barbara Gordon will always have gotten shot. Right, Green Arrow will always have had whatever happened to Green Arrow happen to Green Arrow.
He got stranded on an island.
There we go. Yeah,
there are canon events. There are canon events.
Canon events, right? Let's pretend like Spider-Man didn't just bring that out into that. What were people saying before Into the Spider-Verse just like brought canon event into the mainstream? What were people saying?
I don't think there was a term. I don't think there was like a legit term that was coined for it.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Dude.
Or maybe there always was, but we never knew until Spider-Verse made it apparent.
Yeah. I'm sure people have said like a canon event or canon events beforehand. Still,
mm.
my main point is that, well, maybe some variation of that. Regardless, my point is that I love how DC, regardless of all their like mixing and matching, they can still just say, yes, Batman is somewhere in his early 40s and all of these things happen. When and where, I don't know, at some point in his history.
I just thought about something as well. You guys bringing up Batman. Jared, I think I told you which one is my favorite Batman.
Yeah, it's Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne
from Earth 2.
Yep. And that is only because of the Flash animated Flashpoint movie. Yep. Because I don't know why. I love the origin story for Bruce, cool and all. But Thomas Wayne to like be in the alley and his son gets shot instead, and then his wife becomes the Joker, way more tragic to me.
Yeah, I get it.
Where you lose everything over one bullet. Like, don't get me wrong, Bruce also lost both his parents, but for your wife to become the villain because your son died, and now you're just an anti-hero with a gun.
2 guns.
Villains off a building.
I think
2 guns.
I don't know.
Should we
have to.
Him here the backup variation of a hero, or?
Yeah, he's still a hero. He's an anti-hero.
I think he's worse than Red Hood. Like, I can get behind Red Hood. Whatever Thomas Wayne was doing, that's just a depressed man with a gun. Get him some help.
Who was it in the movie? I can't remember her name. I'm gonna just call her Yo-Yo for now because that's what she comes to mind. Yeah, he just wanted to know where the Joker was, and she was like, "I'll never tell you."
Oh yeah, that universe is Harley. Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like, "I'm not telling you anything." And he's like, "All right, let me know how the pavement tastes," and just drops her. Had no plans to save her. Was not a threat. That was a promise. And I don't know why. I love that bad. I love he promised, like, "Hey, I am serious. Give me what I want, or you die." It's that simple. Have you not spoke to the other thugs in the city? I'm so serious about killing you right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. That I would be afraid if I had Thomas Wayne dangling me over a rooftop, being like, "Tell me what I want to know, or I'm gonna drop you." I would tell him more than he wants to know because he might drop me anyways. I would not be afraid if Batman was dangling me over a rooftop. Tell me why. I'm gonna drop you. Okay, but you're gonna catch me.
Yeah. And I thought about another incident that actually, you know what? I have to look into it. I was gonna bring up Injustice.
That's another thing that I thought about. Like, the Flash's villains, not as iconic as, Batman's or Superman's. Like, okay, we have a gorilla, we have Captain Cold, we have a guy that throws boomerangs.
Wait, hold on. Captain Boomerang is iconic and not because of the Flash.
And Mirror Master, like, this Rogues Gallery is not great.
I forgot about Mirror Master.
Exactly. And like, of course there's the Reverse Flash, but like that's I don't know.
I tripped you when you were 7, Barry.
Let me tell you how I also feel bad for the Reverse Flash. So as you guys know, what is his name? I forgot.
Eobard Thawne.
Aborthon, thank you very much. Aborthon was a very big fan of the Flash, so he recreated the incident that happened to Barry so he can become a speedster like Barry. He was a fan of Barry. But also, while getting his powers and wanting to be like Barry, he also finds out that he has been Barry's villain since day one. So he, like, his whole purpose, which he understands entirely, by the way, is to make Barry's life a problem. That way he can be the Barry that he always knows and knew. So, like, I don't know how to describe this to you. In order for him to be the man that he is, to be the Reverse Flash, he has to commit all the crimes that he knows he's committed throughout history.
So, Eobard Thawne is Barry's #1 fan
and #1 villain.
Yes.
He does that because he likes him?
Because he had to, because if these events didn't happen, then this Flash wouldn't be the Flash he knows that he's a fan of.
I totally I understand that line of reasoning. This is just a shock. Everything, like, again, I haven't read The Flash or seen anything with Eobard Thawne in a whole lot of depth, but from the clips and the like screenshots of like comics and stuff that I've seen, I swore this dude was like this man's #1 hater. Like, he just hated him.
He has to seem that way. He has to.
Has he and Barry ever had like a conversation about this?
No, he cannot.
What?
Having that heart-to-heart will ruin Barry. You know what Barry will also try to do at that point?
What?
Save him.
Save him. Yeah, it's fucking
time travel,
and
man.
Barry tries to,
time travel.
So his #1 hater, as what you call him, is his #1 fan who has to be a villain.
Yo,
in order for his hero to be as great as he is.
There are layers to this that I did not anticipate. I did not care too much for Eobard Thawne up until about 3 minutes ago. I thought he was just kind of...
He was a dick?
Because they're being a dick.
Yeah, he was just a dick, but Lord.
No, that's the reason he knows everything about Barry. He was his biggest fan. He knows everything. That's why his identity is not a secret to him at all. His whole family, he knows them all. Every incident that has happened in Barry's life, he knows it all. The reason he's always one step ahead of Barry, because he knows it all.
Damn. From day one.
To me, that hurts. Like, for me to sit here, like, if we say the Flash was real right now, and I recreated his ability so I could be fast and join him, and then my eyes are open to that I was his biggest villain, would crush me.
Yeah, okay. I understand what you mean when you said that, like, the Flash is just generally tragic.
His life is depressing.
That is wow.
And everything around his life is depressing. But the fact that both Barry and Wally has the audacity to smile on a daily basis and be the audacity is insane, and I give it to them to that. A lot of people don't think like the Barry or the Flash is such a sad character because everything around him is always happy-go-lucky. Like Jared said, he's always like sympathizing with his villains. He's done charity. He's always coking, laughing jokes and everything. But behind all of that, it's a very dark world. DC is just dark in general. But they just portray him as light, and then just when you get backstory and lore, it's darkness. He's not like Batman, where it's darkness on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In a way that makes him somewhat stronger than Bruce, character-wise. I mean, because whenever we see Bruce smiling and laughing, a lot of the time it's a front, right? He's supposed to be he's playing the Playboy mantle. Very few times have I seen Bruce genuinely smiling, and when he does, it's usually to himself because one of his Robins makes him proud or something. I don't know. Rarely is it like the everyday, almost intoxicating, contagious laughter and smile that Barry and Wally bring to the table.
I think this conversation has definitely made me look at the Flash, Wally or Barry or whatever, in a different light, because that was a talking point earlier of like, his compelling stories, humanizing, whatever. And I think throughout this conversation, I'm coming out of it like thinking of the Flash differently and seeing him differently, in a good way, in a positive way.
Yeah.
I hope you do see him differently. I hope me saying a little bit of something has taught you a little bit more
It
about him.
has.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe the Flash to you. It's just like the happy-go-lucky person you see. He does have a tragic background that he does not like let take over his life.
Yeah.
And I gotta scroll my Instagram. I'm not gonna scroll far enough for it. My first time ever hearing this quote, which I'm pretty sure everybody's heard the quote before, but my first time hearing it is from Barry in the comic book. When I was reading it, it literally says him saying, "I can do 100 things right, but that one thing would define it all." So like him, he can save the world 1,000 times. He can save the entire city 1,000 times, but the one time he let the universe fall apart will forever define him.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever equal out to him.
It's just an even deeper and deeper tragicity hole, because you're absolutely right. When you think about Flash, what's the biggest event that you think of? Flashpoint. Name, aside from a Flash fan, name one of his greatest accomplishments. You start thinking, I don't know, he destroyed the world, kind of.
That's all you get to see him do.
That sucks.
Like everything he does, like even in the show, you see him, like Jared said in the beginning of the show, he would stop like 19 crimes and then just shrug it off. That's not what matters here.
Yeah.
What matters is how he's about to mess up the entire episode because he got a little emotional.
Yeah.
Because he did something he wasn't supposed to do.
Man, we gotta give this man like a party or something.
I mean, he has his own day. There's a National Flash Day or Flash Appreciation Day. He has his own museum. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, if his museum was real, I would go to it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would spend half my life there.
Yeah, real talk.
They even had, was it a movie or episode? I can't remember. It was one time where there was like, oh, Flash, you got a couple of your villains, messing up your museum and all. And so he got there, and it was Captain Cold, Captain Boomerang, Top, and Mirror Master all there, and he caught them all, and he's like, hey, I know all four of you. All four of you are absolute retards. Who's the mastermind? And then you see Reverse Flash come out of nowhere. Oh, that is the Flashpoint movie. Because then he starts telling him, like, hey, you may save today, but you couldn't save your mom. Ha-ha.
Oh, my God.
Ha-ha. Go mess up the timeline. He's basically egging, like, he's telling Barry, just like, hey, go mess it all up right now. I dare you. I know a dog dare you.
Biggest op.
And in the show, he doesn't do that in the show. In the show, Barry, Grant Gustin, this part hurt me in the show is when he did go save his mom and things were not like going right in his world. What the Reverse Flash made him do was beg. He's like, beg me to kill your mother.
Oh,
Tell me to kill your mother. And he would not, like, Barry would let him out and everything. He's like, I'm not leaving this cage you've trapped me in until you tell me to go kill your mother. So, like, but once
That's
the universe
rough.
is fixed after that, you know who Barry's going to talk to that with? No one. At most, I don't think I
want to talk about the Flash anymore, man.
I mean, the Flash can be so influential to people that, you know, when the Flash died in Justice League, the animated series, that turned the entire Justice League into this dictator totalitarian force that just ruled over the world because of that. And then, you know, Batman and the Flash had to, or Batman and somebody else, I forget, had to fix it. So, like, you know, that's how powerful an influence the Flash has, not just on his own team because he's the heart of the team, but, like, you know, clearly to your guys' reactions to the readers, the viewers, the watchers.
That is true. Yeah. I feel like Barry Allen himself, from what I've learned of him in this short hour that we've been talking, I started off with a joke in mind about how, you know, how would he feel if he heard you, Chaz, say that he wasn't even your favorite iteration of himself. But now I'm thinking that Barry would be really proud to hear that Wally was so many people's favorite Flash. It means that he did a good job.
Anything else we want to say before we wrap it up?
No, I sent you guys a picture.
I saw it.
If you guys want to. Yeah.
Oh, let me see.
It was almost 8 years ago when I read that comic.
I feel like I can do 9 out of 10 things right, but missing that one last thing makes the rest not count. Damn, Barry.
He just walks through his life just feeling that way.
This man needs a hug.
Can you guys see why? Like outside of speed, we all know I love me a speedster. I love anything that can go faster than the speed of light. But can you guys see like why, as a character, I like the Flash as the mantle? Like everything he has to go through, everything, the weight on his shoulders, he's forced to carry alone. He would love to carry it with more people, but like I said, forever alone because that's just the way his life works.
Yeah.
No, absolutely,
For sure.
absolutely, dude. There are layers to the Flash that I didn't even know, and that I understand your dedication to, like I said, the mantle, because it just kind of brings everything together. It's not just Barry, it's not just Wally, it's not just Eobard Thawne or Impulse or anything, but this whole speedster tragic circle that I didn't know was so dark.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. Like I said before, thanks to this conversation, I have a new appreciation for the Flash. And you say you love speedsters, but like you don't play Sonic. Like I don't get it.
I have played Sonic. I can't get into the Sonic games.
Okay, which Sonic game have you played?
I played the one on Nintendo DS. I can't remember the name of the game.
Okay,
but I just remember
if it's on the DS.
Coins, a little ball.
No, if it's on the DS, then you're probably playing Sonic Rush. Don't play that. No, I'll put you on some good Sonic games, and then we'll see if that changes.
I said the only other one I've played was on the Wii. Des wanted me to play that one, and it's like something with them on hoverboards and stuff.
Yeah,
and
you're playing the wrong Sonic games. You're playing the wrong. That's Sonic Riders. No, man. Okay, well, I'll give you a list.
I already knew that wasn't like okay. I accept.
Well, Chaz, to close out this episode, happy birthday to you. We got to spend this entire month talking about the things that you love, anime and the Flash. And next week we have a special guest on the show who is the voice of Frieza from Dragon Ball Kai. I know it's not your favorite Dragon Ball, but I still thought that would be kind of fitting for you since you are a fan. I hope you've had a good birth month.
I've had a great birth month. Thank you very much.
All right.
See you.
Bye.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Razzle Dazzle Show. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at Razdaz Show Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one.
Next time on The Razzle Dazzle Show.
But I had just heard from my grandma's place, because I went to my grandma's every Sunday, and I would sit on the high-piled shag rug and sit in front of the big wooden cabinet floor mount TV and watch Bugs Bunny, and then I realized Mel Blanc did all those voices, and I wanted that. So that's what I wanted. And June Foray, of course, did all the females.
Yeah.
And so that was my goal since I was 5-6 years old. And so all the things that I did are all art and expression kind of leaning that way, I guess. I feel like I'm talking about, I know it's the point of an interview, but I don't like really talking about myself when it comes to all this stuff.
Tune in next week.